That's a tank.
Stop what you're doing. Black Friday is here, guys. Up to 70% off everything site-wide.
Check out that fish, guys.
Terminal tackle up to 70% off. Apparel up to 70% off. 20% off rods and reels. Also, a bonus 30% off bundle deals on Black Friday week. Use my code EXTREME for an additional 10% off your order only at GooganSquad.com. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan Grub here, the Extreme Outdoorsman. If you guys are new here to the channel, make sure you go hit that subscribe button for me. Help me at 30,000 subscribers. I would really appreciate it. But in today's video, as you've seen from the title and the thumbnail, I'm going to be going over my top 6 soft plastics that I have been using over the last couple years. And these soft plastics that I'm going to be going over in today's video have caught me some giant smallmouth bass, giant largemouth, big northern pike, and a bunch of different species from freshwater drum to muskies to literally anything. These soft plastics can catch you a wide variety of different species. So in today's video, I'm gonna break them down. There's no order from favorite to least favorite. I'm just gonna go over all the soft plastics that I like and just all the soft plastics that I use while I'm out there on the boat. So starting off, I think I'm gonna start off with some smallmouth lures. But right now, guys, the smallmouth fishing has been pretty tough. Just fishing in general. It's starting to get cold here in Michigan. It's late November. It's starting to get pretty chilly here. And the fall bite is pretty tough. That's why I'm actually sitting down and going over some of these lures, just trying to create some content for you guys to watch while the fishing isn't the best. I always love creating content for you guys to watch. I really appreciate everyone watching and supporting. Like I said, I've been filming for probably 4 to 5 years here on YouTube. So shout out to all you guys that support the channel. But first off is actually the Googan Baits Rattling Ned, the green pumpkin goby. And this one right here is actually a smallmouth magnet. I've caught some of my biggest smallmouth bass ever out on Lake St. Clair. And actually I went up to Lake Charlevoix earlier this year in the springtime. And I caught some freaking tanks on this Googan Baits Rattling Net. I don't know if you can hear it, but if you shake it just like that, you can hear a bunch of rattles back here. And let me tell you guys, that Ned rig right there catches some freaking tanks. It's definitely one of my favorite Ned rigs. I know a lot of guys throw Z-Mans, but I really love throwing these Googan Baits Ned rigs because they straight up catch tanks, guys. So next up in line is actually the Googan Baits Drag and Drop, the green pumpkin pearl. And I've been throwing this one for probably a couple years now. And I'll get it out and show you guys what it looks like, but it's basically like a long, like worm style or minnow style bait. It's got that tail right there, and it's got almost like a brownish top, yellowish top with a tan bottom. And let me tell you guys, this drop shot right here catches some freaking giant smallmouth bass. I don't know how many big smallmouth I have caught on this thing. Dustin Connell actually came up here. He's on Team Googan in the MLF circuit, but he's a professional and he uses this one all the time. So it was pretty cool to see him come up here and catch a bunch of big smallmouth on it. But I believe in it personally, just from my opinion. This thing catches some tanks all summer long, even late spring. This smallmouth love these drop shots, but this is definitely a lure that I always have tied on when I'm heading out to Lake St. Clair. I've had some phenomenal days where I catch 50 to 60 smallmouth a day on this lure. So definitely recommend that Googan Baits Drag and Drop. So another favorite bait that I love throwing for either largemouth or smallmouth is the Googan Dube Tube, the 3.5. I think they have a 2.5 and a 4-inch, but I like the 3.5 in the goby color. And I've caught some huge smallmouth bass on this thing, huge largemouth. I'll actually get it out of the package real quick and show you guys what it looks like. But this tube right here I usually put a little jig head inside of it and just cast it out there around any type of structure, whether that's weeds or rocks on Lake St. Clair or just a big weed bed on an inland lake or anything. But that Googan Baits Dube Tube has caught me some huge largemouth bass, huge smallmouth, so I love using this thing. It's definitely a confidence bait when I'm heading out there. I always have a tube on when I'm heading to the lake. Tubes are really good lures pretty much all year round, guys, so I definitely recommend trying out that Googan Baits Dube Tube. Next up in line is actually the Googan Baits Dart, the 5-inch watermelon red, or there's a California craw color that I really like, and there's also a green pumpkin blue. And that green pumpkin blue has caught me some really big ones. I've also caught a lot of really big ones with this green pumpkin red, or it's called a watermelon red. This fluke style bait is phenomenal for largemouth around any type of weeds or structure. I usually fish it up north around a bunch of tall grass or tall weeds sticking out of the water, and sometimes I'll actually put a weight on the front of it so it gets down deeper. But when I'm fishing really shallow water, I just like to keep this weightless just because it has a slow sink to it and it looks like a little minnow or a little dying bait fish, and those bass will come over and just inhale this thing before it even hits the bottom. So I really like using that fluke style bait. Definitely always have this one tied on when I'm heading out to fish largemouth up north or any largemouth lakes around the area. Definitely throwing a Googan Baits Dart. Next up is probably one of my all-time favorites, and that is the Googan Baits Nuke Punch. I actually throw this as a trailer on any type of bladed jig, whether it's a Googan Squad clickbait. Sometimes I throw this on the Googan Squad Hummer as a buzzbait trailer. I've thrown this on the back of jigs, and I've even thrown a weight on the front of this and skipped docks with it and caught some really big fish with this thing in the summertime. But I love throwing that Googan Baits Nuke Punch. It's caught me so many huge fish over the years. Giant largemouth. I've caught some smallmouth bass on this thing up north on the back of a jackhammer. Actually, that was pretty cool. But I definitely recommend trying this thing out. This bait has rivets in the side, so it has a ton of action going through the water. And these craws right here, once you put this on the lure, you actually have to separate these, obviously, but this thing is incredible. It has some awesome action to it, and believe me, guys, it catches some giants. And last but not least is the Googan Baits Love Grub, the black and blue. And I've had this one for a little while, and I haven't tried it until earlier this year. Me and my dad actually went down to Florida, and we were actually punching mats with some lures down there, and I was like, why don't I try one of these Googan Baits Love Grubs? And I got it out of the pack, and holy smokes, I was catching all kinds of fish throwing these in the thick mats with a big bullet weight on the front of it. And this black and blue, especially down in Florida, those fish love black and blue lures, so I figured that black and blue Love Grub would work really good. I tied it on and it was like instant. I think my second or third cast, I was just hammering really nice largemouth bass down there on Headwaters Lake in Florida, so that was super cool. I was throwing these on Lake Okeechobee, a bunch of different lakes down there, so it was a lot of fun. But that Googan Baits Love Grub caught me some big bass down there in Florida. It's definitely a confidence lure when I go down there next year. I'm pretty excited to throw this around more, maybe try some different colors. But that pretty much wraps up today's video, guys. I just wanted to quickly go over some of my favorite soft plastics that I use on the boat when I'm out there bass fishing. I know a lot of you guys watch my videos and support the channel and see all these lures in action, so shout out to you guys again for watching and supporting the channel. It's getting pretty cold here in Michigan, so I don't know how much more bass fishing I'm going to be doing on the boat. I might be transitioning over to all my ice fishing. I got all my ice fishing stuff down and I am ready for action, ready to get on some big fish through the ice. But like I said, if you guys want to order any of these lures in today's video, make sure to use code EXTREME at checkout at GooganSquad.com. It gets you 10% off. I would really appreciate it. But that is going to wrap up today's video, and we will see you in the next one. Stay tuned, guys, and be watching for me at all the boat ramps.